Don't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even matter. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right. Second. All right. We are on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. And I welcome today with me Miss Stephanie Jewell. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
That is correct. Okay, cool, cool. Uh, as you know, the topic is adult ADHD. And I, well, before we get started, Stephanie, I just want to have you introduce yourself and let let everybody know what it is. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? All that good stuff.
All right. As you already stated, I am Stephanie Jewell. I am currently with Children's Wisconsin. I am a project evaluator, program evaluator. What I do is I take a look at an overall program for efficiency. I help come up with problem solving measures. I look at goals programmatic wise, and I problem solve all day, every day. I also do assessments with youth to help identify goals that they may have after traumatic events. So I wear multiple hats. I come from human services. I've been doing human services for the past 15 years of my life. Prior to that, I came from retail management. And prior to that, customer service. Prior to that, I was a teacher. So lots of different hats, but that's where I come from. Lots of service. If you name it, I've done it, but helping people, that's where I come from. So
Got it. Got it. Got it. So, of course, the topic is ADHD, and uh, I want you to talk about when did start from the beginning. When did you know that something was off or different?
all right. So,
With
jumping right into that fun topic, all my life, I have been one of those very hyperactive kids. I mean, bouncing off the walls. As early as age 5, I was the kid that literally was into everything. So, I have a knot on my forehead. I don't think you guys can actually see it, but there's actually a knot here. I was the kid that jumped off of Mrs. Dewey's table into a concrete floor. And so, in doing that, that could have been the traumatic event that led to my developmental um, I don't want to call it issues because it's not necessarily issues, but definitely along the course of my development in life, there have been differences. I like to call them differences. But I'm all over the
Mess it
place
up.
all the time. I love learning, but I learn differently. So I cannot sit still, even when I'm sleeping. And this has always been a thing. So that hyperactive kid, the inattentive kid, not, it looks like I'm not paying attention. And what is so funny is in elementary school, oh, she's not paying attention. I'm paying attention, but I need to be doing something else. There was a song that we learned in 5th grade about prepositions. I know that song to this day. I'm not going to sing that song, but I know the prepositions because of that song. So it wasn't that I wasn't learning, it was how
That's a
I was
schoolhouse rock
learning.
song.
Huh?
That's a schoolhouse rock. The Schoolhouse Rock
No,
song, or
not even it's not even a Schoolhouse Rock song. It needed to be a Schoolhouse Rock song, but it was sang to the tune of Yankee Doodle Dandy, as a matter of fact. But it was a bunch of prepositions.
oh my
So
goodness.
that's how I
Uh,
learned, and I still remember that to this day. So it's not the fact that I couldn't learn; it was I learned differently. But I was always
differently.
the kid in trouble because I couldn't sit still. So much so
Mm,
it was disruptive in the classroom all the time. I was always in trouble. You would see it on my report cards. You would see it in my grades. Even in middle school, I went to 5 different middle schools. So that was also disruptive, but you could not follow the pattern because I was switched to different middle schools. In 6th grade, I started at Urban Day. Midway through Urban Day, I went to Mount Calvary Lutheran. There's no way you can actually track what my learning styles and patterns were and what I was actually retaining. So nobody could pick up on it during those years. Okay. 7th grade, I actually went to Burroughs. If anybody was
mm,
paying attention or cared, hello, this is Burroughs. Nobody cared at Burroughs.
yeah, yeah,
They
right.
would have actually seen it then, but you're switching from class to class. There was actually one math teacher that did pick up on something. He asked me if I needed some additional help. I said yes. But when he brought it up to my mom said, no, she needs discipline. She needs to just figure it out. But I struggled through that class, and he did his best to help me through that class. 8th grade, I went to St. Peter Emmanuel. There wasn't an opportunity for me to figure out whether we were struggling in that school because we were pulled out of that school too soon as well. And then I spent the rest of my years, or my year, I should say, at Webster, in which I did actually struggle through a few of my classes at Webster, but same thing. When 2 of the teachers did bring up my struggling, um, my parents at that time kind of blew over the subject and thought it was more that I needed discipline. So, fast forward to high school, same thing. The pattern was there. I was inattentive. I could not
Mm,
focus. I'm all over the place. I'm antsy. I wasn't disruptive. I was not a bad kid, but my attention, if there were windows, my eyes are always out looking at the windows. If there were lights, I'm looking at the lights. I'm playing with my pens. I'm playing with whatever my clothes are. I'm playing with my hair. I am literally everywhere but paying attention to whatever's going on, but I am actually listening. So it's very weird, right? I'm picking up on
mm.
what's happening. I'm trying to listen in. I'm trying to pick up on these concepts. When it comes to the book knowledge, I can take the concepts in the book and try and piece together what I'm supposed to do, which is how I got some of the foundational information. And I was able to kind of piece together what I was supposed to do. And I was able to kind of barely make it through some of that information. That's how I made it through the majority of my classes. And so there was a teacher who argued with my mom one time and told my mom, your child needs help. There is something going on. And my mom said, no, discipline, discipline, discipline,
Mm.
discipline.
So
So
your parents
that,
was just straight. Your parents was just straight. Like they ain't trying to hear what nobody got to say. Discipline the kid. Do what you got to do, but do your job type of
right.
scenario.
And it was crazy because at this point, my grades were suffering. I had a zero point 0.8 in my 9th grade year. And that continued
Yikes.
into my 10th grade year. So obviously, something is not working. And I really was doing the best that I could, trying to keep up. This was, we went from what? Algebra to geometry. And,
Mm.
I wasn't allowed to stay after school. I was one of those kids that was super sheltered. So there were no after school activities, there were no tutoring opportunities. So it's like, okay, it was discipline. I had my toys taken away. I know toys, right? I was one of those kids. I had toys, even in high school. But it just it went un it just was not acknowledged. Okay. And when I think back to it now, I really did. I lived in one of those places where it was like, okay, this is normal. For me, it's normal. But even looking at other kids my age, what they were doing versus what I was doing, it was just, I was always that weird kid that was just always doing the weird stuff. But then when I looked at the kids that were in the special needs classes, I really was more in alignment with the kids that were in the special needs classes. And so it was just so awkward. I mean, I get along with everybody. I can hold a conversation with people. I get a, I'm over here. I'm in this group. I'm in that group. And I just, to this day, I'm like, what a disservice, right? Because what happened if I was able to go to those classes where I learned in the ways that I could like hear, like, oh my gosh. So fast forward through high school, I actually started taking the classes that were more physical, okay? More reading
Like what?
opportunities where I could actually read books, touch the books, health classes, physical education classes, biology classes where you're doing the experiments, you're doing science, you're doing art, dance classes. This was Milwaukee High School of the Arts too. That's where I went to high school. So I played piano. That was also the other thing. I played piano by ear. I could not ever read music, which was also a part of my different ability. I am a genius when it comes to I can hear it and then I can duplicate it. A part of ADHD is mimicking things. I can mimic anything at any time. And that's a part of the genius, right? So I can play the hell out of a piano, but that's a part of it too. Versus being able to actually read that music, I struggled. So I went from playing jazz my first 2 years to classical. So that was also a part of the dynamic of high school. And then I switched over into these more physical classes where my grades shot up. Well, there's the difference. There's where you can actually see the classes where I could touch things, read more, and put what I'm hearing and seeing and reading. We'll talk about KAV, which is kinesthetic, auditory, and visual learning. We'll talk about that in a second, where I could put those three things, which I needed, to use. And that's what I was not getting with the other classes. People were just talking to you, teaching you what these things are for math, and I was missing these all these other components. So you'll see a difference between the first 2 years of my high school career and the last 2 years, all because I was missing specific components of what I specifically needed, right? So
So you're more of a hands-on person?
yep. I actually need three different things. I need the kinesthetic part, I need that physical part,
Right.
I need
Right.
auditory. I need to hear it, right? But I'm also visual. And it depends on what it is you need me to do. So I need all three, but all of us actually need some component of those three. And it's not just me, it's actually everybody. Some people can just hear it and be like, okay, let me follow these steps because they can visualize it in their head. Other people need to visualize it while, you know what I mean? They just need to see it.
Yep.
Just show
Yep.
me and I can
Yep.
do it.
Yep.
It's very interesting
Yep.
how the brain works. But me, like, it depends on the actual task. So fast forward to college. My mother wants me to go to college. She puts me in this college, Concordia University. It's a religious school. I wasn't raised anywhere near religion, right? Why in the world am I at this religious school? So, of course, I struggled because I did not have a relationship like everybody around me with God at that time. I did, but I didn't have one like them. I didn't know the Bible. So you had to know the Bible in order to pass these classes. And so I'm sitting there, I'm struggling through those classes. I picked, I think when I first got there, I was in criminology. I picked criminology of all things, right? Because that's what my mom went into, of all things. So I had criminal justice, I had intro to law enforcement, I had not criminal justice, it was criminology. Intro to law enforcement, I had these theology classes, all these heavy hitting classes when I just came out of high school. Now, keep in mind that struggle I just told you about. Heavy hitting classes. Needless to say, like heavy hitting classes. It did not go very well. That's how the first 3 years of college went for me. Okay. In the midst of all of that struggle, I lost two of my sisters in a car accident, lost my faith, ended up saying, you know what? I'm not going to this faith-based school anymore. Get me out of here. Transferred to UWM. Okay. Right. Thank goodness I did that. I got into this education program so I could become a teacher. This first teacher I had in this educational psychology program, I'm in this class, I'm learning, I'm raising my hand, I'm answering the questions, right? But when it comes to the tests, I'm not passing the tests. This teacher comes to me, she said, you know, I'm a little concerned because when it comes to the tests, you're not passing, but I see that you are answering the question. So you have the knowledge. She said, so I want you to go sit down and talk to this psychologist. I went and I sat down and I talked to that psychologist for about 30 minutes. By the time I was done with him, he said, you know, you have the classic ADHD, and I think it's best that you start Ritalin. And I'm like, what? Ritalin. Now, I had been working with children at MPS who were on Ritalin and ADHD medicine. And I'm like, no way. My Right. My mother had been working at MPS with kids that were on Ritalin and in these special needs programs, like my family, things like that. So it came as a shock. I'm like, all this time. So then I started researching, but I had been learning because I had been in the education program. I knew all about ADHD. How did I ignore the signs for myself? Right. Because I really was in denial. And I'm like, nah, whatever. So I did try Ritalin. I did not try it long enough, but I didn't like the effects. So that's how I started, right? I eventually got off of Ritalin. I did not like the effects. And I have actually been living a life without medication for, oh my gosh, this entire time, nearly 20 something years now, up until like after the pandemic happened, like stress and life changes, things like that, the weight of the world really set in. And I had gotten into a whole mess of a crazy relationship mess, right? And mental health started piling up again, right? And I'm like, okay, what is happening? Is this ADHD? Is it depression? Is it anxiety? What is happening? I started getting super fidgety. I started getting anxious, nervous, a lot of those symptoms where I couldn't focus. I was trying to learn new things, learn new jobs, really trying to like hone in on things. I couldn't grasp life anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is new. What in the world am I experiencing? I went back to the doctor. And so he re-diagnosed me with ADHD again. But this time he's like, no, you need something more powerful. You actually need to try to stay on ADHD medicine this time. He's like, what you're experiencing is the real adult ADHD. He's like, you've been
Go ahead.
trying to self-medicate for years, and I have. I I think you can see in the background, I do these low lights. I cannot deal with fluorescent lights. It will make, like, I don't know if you've dealt with children who have been in fluorescent lighting. If you have children that are always all over the place, try and lower the light or put on natural lighting. If you are dealing with children or even adults who have constantly been exposed to sugar or the red dye 40 or even the yellow dye, and I forget which number it is, but there's a yellow dye that also triggers, okay,
Wow.
the you will be like this, or the headaches. MSG, stay away from MSG. Another thing people do not often understand about ADHD is the gut health. I have lived a life of heartburn and indigestion constantly, and I had no idea that our gut bacteria is completely different in how we digest sugars and how we eat. We're always getting the indigestion. It is crazy, but it's definitely all science. It's definitely real. No, we are not lazy. One of the biggest things that happens to people with ADHD is we will shut down out of nowhere. If it happens, so
And you know,
that's
it's
it for
crazy.
me.
It's crazy that you mentioned um the possibility of other issues as it relates to ADHD, because I did a little research on myself, and it said that people that are dealing with ADHD, adults that are dealing with ADHD, oftentimes are dealing with another issue, like depression or anxiety, like you said, and it kind of goes hand in hand,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? And that could really like put you in the trick bag if you don't get that looked at, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. So I'm just gonna show you guys because I don't have anything to hide. So this is for my ADHD. It's Vyvanse. All right. And I get the off brand. Thank goodness they finally came out with that. But because I also have an eating disorder, because I eat my emotions all the time, and I just thank goodness I started losing weight. I also take Topamax, or this one is the topiramate. I literally, that is my other condition. And it was actually misdiagnosed. I was misdiagnosed as having major depression. I think that's what it was called, major depression. It wasn't that I had major depression. It was the beginning of winter, way last year. There was no sun. It was dark. It was crazy dark out. And I'm a sun, I call it sun bunny. I love being in the sun. All I did was I started taking vitamin D, and that fixed it. But when I do get sad, or when I am spiraling, or I get anxious or nervous, which is a part of ADHD because you're sensitive to rejection, you're always wondering, are people judging you? You are in your world, you're overthinking all the time about weird stuff, right? It's crazy. Um, you
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, I turn to food. There are some people that they do other extreme things. So
Mhm.
that food for me, and that's what the Tova Max is for. It puts me to sleep at night, so I'm not up nervous eating, and I those are the things that I rely on. So when I tell you yes, it's oftentimes coupled with something else that we are dealing with as adults. So, yep, that's a good one. I'm glad
And
you
I
did your
noticed,
research.
and I noticed that you're fidgeting with that thing too.
Oh, oh yeah, that's my little nervous toy. This, I have this. I have I know everybody sees my Starbucks cups, but this I buy the ones with the ridges on them because I also have the need to like rub my fingers up or down something when I get nervous, or it's a self-soothing technique. I also buy the little keychains just in case I don't have the cup. So when I'm out and something is happening and I can't control what's happening or something, you know what I'm saying? Like I have this and I'm just sitting there like this so that I'm not making any noise, but I have my stuff and I got it ready to go. Another thing that I do is I have my people I don't care if I'm judged ever. I have my coloring materials and I have my adult coloring books.
Fucking adorable.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, I done seen it all. I
You
done
know,
seen it all.
because guess what? When I'm in a conference and they're talking about something, I'm actually paying attention while I'm coloring in my book. And it's helping me pay attention.
So you're multitasking.
Exactly. And people are finally, finally, when I was at Concordia, I used to get in trouble for doodling. Are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? You're paying good money for this program. um Dr. Kermit, whatever his name was, you need a checkup from the neck up. You're paying so much money for this program and it's going to waste because you're over there doodling. Excuse me, it's my money, first of all, that I'm wasting. Second of all, this is helping me pay attention to your old dry lesson. Listen, I when I got to the educational psychology class at UWM, it was very refreshing because that was the first time they understood doodling was okay, standing up and stretching was okay. They understand the normal way of sitting down and being quiet and paying attention. All of that is out. Kids cannot pay attention. Why do you think they lessened the amount that we're listening to songs nowadays? Songs are what, 2 minutes and 30 seconds now. The average adult cannot sit still. Hello? Our attention spans are not that long either, you know? Right. And it's not a matter of training people to sit still. No. So
you don't want to do it like that anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. That's militant. That's very military. So everybody looks at me, oh, you're so crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I am not going to force myself to sit through something. And then guess what? Or the value of that information goes out the window. You just tried to force me to listen to something when all you had to do was give it to me in a way that makes more sense for myself and maybe everybody else in this room. But for the sake of making it look like we have some sense and to sit appropriately and to pay attention, okay, y'all look proper. I'm going to be over here coloring, but I still heard it and I can regurgitate it and I can take what you just said and develop the next phenomenal tool that you'll see ever. And that's what people come to me for in my current job. Stephanie, here's the problem that we have. Are you able to take this problem and find a resolve? Let me tell you what happened at my current job. I came in, they said, hey, we have 190 questions for this assessment. Within 7 days, I had all 190 questions laid out in a format that asked 5 questions of each one of those 190 questions so that we could better understand where they came from and why we were asking each one of those 190 questions. Don't play with me. I may have a different way of thinking, but it's very effective. I get things done. And that is why that's the genius of also my way of thinking. So even when I came into DMCPS, I was an initial assessment specialist, a supervisor. I came in and I did a 26-page paper as to what was wrong on one of our practice cases. I would rather know every single thing wrong on a case and be able to say, hey, all of this stuff is wrong and do a quality assurance check, right? Then not. And that is the genius of how my brain works. Sometimes I go over my job. Sometimes I do too much, but I'd rather go over and build quality assurance into what I do. But that is the genius of what I do. And so that's what I do. And that, there you have it. So,
all right. Hello, Angela, and hello, Devin, for tuning in. I have another question for you, Miss Stephanie. You spoke about. I'm gonna get back to that one, but I want to ask you this question because we're talking about this in the adult format. Why is it that we, meaning us, why is it that we have such a big problem when it comes to mental health? And listening to your story, you could have been saved such grief and unnecessary mess had your parents say, hey, maybe these teachers are onto something. Maybe I need to pay more attention to what these teachers are saying because they are seeing another side of you that they did not, or let me rephrase that, they would not.
mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you asked.
Let's talk about that.
Because that's one of the most important things to mention right now. Because listen, I know I may be light-skinned, right? But this is one of the most important factors to identify. My parents are Black. I was adopted into a Black family. I am biracial. My biological father is Black. My biological mother is white. And I was adopted into my biological father's family. So my aunt is the person who adopted me and took me in. So I was raised by my Black family. And man, blessed. Talk about blessed, right? Because I had the best life. Best. Okay. Despite the whole mental health component, the best life I could have ever asked for. But let's circle back around to this mental health aspect because we will not continue to skirt around the fact that in our culture and our community, we continue to refuse to talk about and to address mental health as a concern, mental health as a community. In the Black family, we want to skirt through mental health as an issue. When I had my baby and I took it to my mother and I said, hey, I don't know what these emotions are. Something is going on. Here is what I'm experiencing. Don't you go tell that doctor that. They're going to take your baby from you. The first thing from her mouth should have actually been, okay, you know what? You need to go to the doctor so we can get some help. Now, it's not her fault. Her response was fear. It was fear. She was scared. She did not know any better. My mother has never had a child of her own. And in her culture, in her community before her, this is what has happened. Babies have been taken from their mothers. Okay? So it is a condition. Yeah. So in our communities, when you have things that you have been conditioned to see, or you've got things that have been swept under the rug, don't go and say that. Don't go and tell that. This is what we are still dealing with. Okay. Right. Generations before us that tell us, be quiet, don't go and tell that. That's not fair to us, this current generation who need the help. Okay. We can't sweep it under the rug.
No, because I saw it in my generation, and I mean, I'm assuming that you're a few years younger than me, but I see it a lot in this generation where you have these these young parents who, let's just keep it a buck. They don't know how to be parents. So when the issues start to come and the questions start to come, it's like you said, that it's that fear reaction. But also in that though, Stephanie, I may be wrong. I hope I am, but I also sense that it's like a generational fear that's being passed down from this one to that one in regards of, you know, um, it's be careful, don't say this and don't say that, or otherwise, them people gonna be coming and whoop de whoop, you know, but we got to stop that. If we know something is wrong, then we need to address that.
Yep.
And we need to drop that fear. You know what I mean? And really like, hey, I'm looking out for the well-being and the welfare of my kid.
Yep.
Not for the fear that I feel that something may or may not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives a shit about what could happen? But I need to take care of my kid.
Yep.
You understand?
Need to protect everybody involved. So I think we were having a discussion about how we had that one family member that we know would touch on everybody. What know that you have a molester in the family. Why are you protecting that person instead of getting them the help that they need? Now, I will disclose this to you. I worked for the Chapter 980 program for the state of Wisconsin. That is the program where you've got the individuals who have perpetrated in the state of Wisconsin who have been locked away. They are the individuals with mental health conditions who have been deemed they have mental health needs that have sexually molested children or other individuals. But they have a mental incapacity, so they need to be treated as such. But they are coming out of the prison facilities now because they've done their time. Okay, they are amongst us. Does that mean their relatives and their family need to hide them? No. They okay, so what do we do in our families? Oh, don't you go say that about Uncle Charles. Don't go say that about this person. Don't go say that about that person. Well, if you know they did it, okay, protect yourself, protect your family, and make sure that when that person comes around, you are protecting yourself. Don't keep it in the dark. Don't, you know what I'm saying? But what we do is we would rather say, oh, that didn't happen. We would actually tell our kids that they're lying. That has happened. You're telling your kid, oh, you lying, you making stuff up, you just fast. Your kids don't have the ability to be fast. They're kids. But an adult is sexualizing them as kids. Whether they're wearing a bathing suit around the house or not, the adult should know this is a child. And if their mental capacity is saying, okay, I don't care that this is a child, I still see them sexually, then that is the adult problem. That's the mental condition. So there you have all of that's a cluster of issues, right? Instead of dealing with that cluster of issues, we would rather say, you know what? Nope. Sweep all that under the rug. No. And that's what needs to stop. Handle it. Right. Whether you handle it as a family or you pick one person to say, hey, cousin so-and-so, auntie so-and-so, uncle so-and-so, can you please see to it that you are the sole person that helps this individual and we keep this family protected or whatever the situation is. But we're not doing that. So there you have it. Yeah. Well, that's just my opinion. Yeah. Keep in mind, these are just my opinions based off of my own experiences in my own family.
And in your own professional line of work as well.
Absolutely. I'm sure you see Child Protective Services, in human services, in the 980 program. Absolutely.
Right. So let me go back a little bit because you talked about, your life and as far as what you had to endure. When did you get diagnosed?
2003 or 2004. I'm sorry. It was, I want to say I turned 20. So it was, yeah, 2004. I was 20 years
Okay.
old.
All right. And you also touched on relationships and stuff like that, but uh how did your diagnosis affect the way you viewed like work and relationships for,
Oof.
you know,
So work, I a
it
lot of
sounds like
times,
you became very anal with when in terms of work though, but I'll let you talk on
absolutely.
that, but
So professionally, I dominate anything I do professionally. So for me, I find the policies, I find the procedures, and I am a very by the book person. People hate to see me coming because if it's in the policy, if it's in the manual, that's exactly what we do. So for work,
right.
that's why I'm very good with what I do for work. But that's also why people don't like to see me coming because I hold people accountable. It is what it is. You don't like it, don't have the rules. At the same time, I get bored easily, super easily. We job hop. The moment I get bored with a job, I'm like, oh, okay, I've done this. I've mastered it. What's next? I'm ready for a new job. Let me find my next adventure. So for me, it was very important to find a job where I can do different types of projects. So that's why my current role, I'm a project manager. I am able to go into different projects. When I'm done with that project, I'm on to the next project. I have found my career path and it allows me the different things that I need, and it's amazing. So I love that. I've been blessed. That's wonderful. Let's get into these relationships because let me tell you, having ADHD and being in relationships, people will always think that you are gullible, naive, silly, stupid, like, and what they don't understand until that switch happens is I'm nice. I am a really nice person. I'm fluffy, loving. I swear to you, I am. Until you take it for granted. And then I have to show you, oh, no, this is not that. And that's where it becomes a problem. And I don't have a balance. There is no in between because there can't be an in between. You're either going to get, oh, hello, how are you? I made you this, I found you that, I love you. Let's do this. I'm super thoughtful, super sweet, this and that and the other. Or hey, whoa, you really should not have crossed that boundary. And it's a constant, it's hell. And I think even in my social media posting, you guys can see that. If I'm in a relationship, and this is horrible, it's absolutely horrible. When I'm in love, it's lovey dovey posts. Love, 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 love. Or you get my funny memes. The moment somebody pisses me off, oh, it's hell. It's shit posting, shit talking, F this, F that. Oh, this person ate this person ate that. And that's exactly what you get. One of the things with ADHD is emotional dysregulation, executive dysfunction. We do not have the ability to regulate those emotions. And that is something that really is a part of this. You cannot play with those emotions. And that is a part of the disability or different ability itself. I try to tell people, and you see me getting all excited right now because that's how serious it is. It is, they say that we're on the spectrum of autism. And I somewhat agree with that because even when I do try to be like, okay, Stephanie, calm down. What they did is not that serious. there's a part where you are raging, you're raging. I can eat, I can come back to it. And another thing that happens, a trigger, you're re-traumatized. You can see something on the news, you can walk past and smell something, you can hear it again, or the person will try and apologize and they say the wrong thing, or something will come back and it's you explode all over again. This is why it is very important to understand the emotional dysregulation and the executive dysfunction. We're all over the place all the time. And no, there is no regulating the emotions, no matter how much medication you're on. So that's what it's like being in a relationship with me.
So it can be a smooth ride or a bumpy ride.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I do apologize
Now,
and I take accountability, but it doesn't matter. Like in that moment, like we have you. There has to be some. If that person has to be the person that backs off. Like, you know what? Okay, all right. I'm not a person that fights unless somebody put their hands on me. Somebody put their hands on me,
sure.
I go. I'm just saying, I'll defend myself. But I'm not an attacker, but I am loud. Hey, it's so there's that.
All right. All right. I'm gonna read off some symptoms, and I want you to let me know if uh this is you. Impulsiveness. Is that you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Trouble coping with stress.
Yes.
Yeah. Mood swings. Temper.
Every day.
Low frustration tolerance.
Yep. No patience whatsoever.
Okay. Poor time management skills and
I'm
planning.
late to everything.
Uh, okay. Problem staying on task and multitasking.
I can multitask as long as, like, when I clean my house, I leave the lights on. But problems staying on task, yeah, I will change the subject like 5 times within one thing.
Do you have problems prioritizing things as well?
Yeah. Yes. I feel seen.
Um, yeah, you're classic, dude. You're our classic. Wow.
I feel seen.
Hey, I'm just asking questions, wow. But you know, oh God. How does your family interact with you now in terms of now that the cat's out the bag, so to speak? You know, how does your family help you with that?
They still deny it, Mark. My parents do not acknowledge it still. Neither one of my freaking parents acknowledge it, even though I tell them I'm on medication. And my parents are 72 years old. Like, oh my gosh. So you know what I do? I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do me. They then if they don't acknowledge it, I'm not forcing them to. I know what is happening to me, and my mom surprised me one day. She got herself and my dad a free therapy appointment, and I forget what it was for. I think she was just trying out her Medicaid benefits or something like that, and it was actually very helpful for her. And so she wanted to continue it, but for whatever reason, Medicaid wouldn't cover like the rest of their appointments or whatever. And I'm like, dang, if it was helpful, that was a step in the right direction. How can we continue those types of appointments, right? And so that was a beautiful moment. But yeah, we don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it, until we get into an argument where they say something real bogus to me, right? And I'm checking them like, hey, you will not cross this boundary. Don't say that to me, and don't talk to my child like that, because old school people still live in this. I can say what I want to you, but you still have to respect me. Nope, I don't live in that zone. You will not. You absolutely will not. Here's what this is going to be. You respect me, I respect you. And I'm going to take care of my parents no matter what. They need something, I'm dropping. Somebody else disrespect my parents. Oh, you got it coming. But watch out. Yo, hey, they get on my nerves, but hey, that they get on my nerves. You watch yourself. You know? But yeah, they don't, they just, they're still in denial. And so that's that old school tradition. They just like, dang. But I will tell you this, my biological mom absolutely acknowledges it. My sibling, I have siblings too. Well, there's only two of us, well, three of us left. We lost another sibling this summer. She has mental health too. And well, all of us have mental health, but she has significant mental health stuff too. And we're similar. And her children do too. And it's like, my bio mom actually acknowledges. And she's like, well, I'm here. My cousins on my white family all have things, and we're all that side. They're open. They talk about it. They're all on medication and they're doing things. They're healthy, happy, they're working. It's different. And I'm like, see, we need that for us too. Instead of like hiding it. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Because from my experience working as a corrections officer and as a corrections lieutenant, I've encountered a lot of people who came from, how should I put this? They came from, bad neighborhoods and all that type of stuff. But in addition to that, they also admitted that they had issues, mental health issues that wasn't addressed.
Yep.
Growing up.
And let's talk about how those mental health issues, how they grew up, whether it was passed down from mom or dad or both or family members, how it trickles over into relationships and how it shows up and how they then cannot actually have conducive relationships. I'll tell you this, a lot of my relationships could not thrive and be healthy, mainly because I identified they were suffering from things that they refused to work on, from either stuff they experienced from traumas, vicarious traumas. I'm just like, hey, go work on that. One person I found crying in the middle of the kitchen one day. His AC1 was 13. If you don't go somewhere and see a doggone doctor about your diabetes, right, like that's your actual health. This ain't even mental health. So when are we going to have the discussion about your overall health? Take care of you. But taking care of you is also taking care of your mental health. I don't care what it looks like for me to hop on Facebook and vent, hey guys, I'm struggling today. If that makes me feel better, that makes me feel better. If somebody hops on my status stuff, I got you. That made me feel better. I took care of my mental health that day. And then you got a bunch of people on Facebook want to talk about, oh, you always on here talk about something. Okay. And you bottling your stuff up. That's the difference between us. And I'm out here helping people constantly, making themselves feel better left and right. But you on here bottling your stuff up. Meanwhile, I'm out here in the real world doing something that makes a real difference. There's a difference.
Yeah. And, and it's good that you mentioned, about our denial, Black denial, when it comes to our mental health. I mean, even our physical health as well. And, this is why I'm doing this.
Yep.
This right here. That's
Yes.
why I'm doing this, because I grew up in that environment.
Yes.
I grew up in that environment where, there's nothing wrong with my son. He just needs, some discipline, and that's it. It's like getting cut and your mama telling you to put some butter on it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's old school, but come on, mom. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So it plays into that same conversation piece that we can't keep sweeping, you know, issues and all these behaviors that we can physically see under the rug, like it just didn't happen.
Yep.
Because what if one day little Johnny grows up and becomes a murderer, or what I'm saying, a rapist or something, and it's like, well, I had these mental health issues since I was little,
Yep.
and mom and dad didn't take care of that. They just swept it under the rug. And that is one of the things that I've discovered in my conversations as a corrections officer, that a lot of these cats, they have these issues, but they weren't dealt with. So now we're seeing the fruits of their labor
Yep.
as they're spending time in jail, prison, or whatever. And we can't keep we can't keep acting like it just doesn't happen. We cannot turn a blind eye to what's going on with little Johnny. Little Johnny needs to go to, he needs to get checked out. You know what I'm saying? And we have to do more. You know, we can't laugh at this shit because it's serious. And like I
Yep.
said, this is why I'm out here doing this podcast thing right now. That's the reason why, because I got tired of standing in the dark. You
Yeah.
know, something, ain't nothing wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Mark, you all right? The hell, I'm a mess. I'm
Yeah.
a mess.
Yeah.
And I got to get this shit taken care of,
Let me
because
ask you
ain't
something.
nobody gonna do it but you.
In admitting that you're a mess, are you any less of a person, of a man, of an individual contributing to your life, your wife, society?
I'm still here.
You're still here. You're still
Still.
contributing. You can still be a mess and very much valuable. Who told us that our mental health equates to our worth and our value? So what? We're having a bad mental day and we need a mental break. We're burnt out.
Mhm.
Find some
Mhm.
self-care, find what's gonna work, get some relief. But
Yep.
yes, we're allowed to be a mess. That's another thing
Yeah.
for Black men, by the way. And this is why you need to preach now more than ever. Black men have been told that they have to present to the world, that they can't break, that they
Say that one more
can't,
time.
that
Uh,
they can't break,
uh,
that they
uh-huh.
can't
Mm-hmm.
show weakness, that they
Mm.
can't buckle, that they can't, you know what I mean? Like they can't cry. They can't have
Yeah.
emotions. Do you know how many men I have dated? I need them to show me some emotions. I need them to show me romance. I need them to show me that they are something other than this big macho stiff something. And they can't, because they got to be macho. They got to go out here. They got to do this. What are you doing? Be human. I need a
Right.
human.
Right. Right.
But but
But
but they dehumanized our Black men. Well, just, oh my gosh. So I hear you, because yes, think about it, man. There was this one little guy in my classroom. Father came in, man. You better shut your punk ass up. shut your punk ass up. Get up. You all right? Stop all that crying. You ain't no little punk ass kid. Excuse my language. Sorry. If we gotta bleep that out, bleep that out. But this is how he talked to him.
Right.
Okay, his little feelings were hurt because he fell and he's experiencing pain. Now it's okay to cry. I would cry too if I was experiencing pain and I didn't know, how to handle my emotions in that moment. But like, that's what was passed down from one man to another man. But then you hear women doing the same thing. You a boy, you're not supposed to cry. You a boy, you a man, be a man. What? Okay, you put that man in his place. Then we wonder why, dang, we don't have any men. Well, what the heck? I want, man, Mark. That's a whole nother podcast. Okay, save that one for another. But yes, I understand.
Yeah. I have a few people that were in and out of the chat, and so I just want to invite people to come in and ask questions of Stephanie if you have any regarding her experiences with ADHD as an adult, right? So if you have any questions or comments, please bring it up. Another question I want to ask you: do you think that, in your experience, do you think that there's anything else that you can do to help with your diagnosis other than medications?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, a healthy, balanced diet and exercise is always very, very healthy. So, I always refer to myself as a baby gym rat, not as of lately, because I did start medication and I started this new job back in August. So, I'm trying to find my balance. But when I was in the gym and when I was on a Mediterranean diet, I was the most healthy and the most focused. I had lost roughly 25 pounds in the matter of 4 months. And when I tell you, I was healthy, I was focused. It was prime. Like, it was great. Like, oh man, I felt good. I could sit down and type up case notes in the matter of minutes and just hone in on what I was doing. I had natural lighting in my house. I had plants all over the place. I could come in and change my cat litter. I could play through a piano a song. Like, that was optimal, like, utilization of my ADHD and my time. But it was you have to plan, you have to meal prep, you have to have a planner. So I was up in the morning and I had a support system too. My parents are retired. So Granny and Papa would come pick Hannah up, get her to school in the morning. I was walking at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would do 30 minutes, come back. I mean, boom, boom, boom. So yes, diet and exercise is something that you could actually replace for medication, and natural lighting. Keep all the sugars out of your diets, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
Oh, sleep. Sleep is another huge one too, by the way. Sorry.
Oh no, you good. Yeah. Well, sleep always helps.
Sleep helps everybody.
If you were able to say anything that could help someone go through your position, what would you tell them?
Do not hide it. Do not be ashamed. Let me tell you, one of the worst things that I have ever lived through all my life was hiding who I am. I tried to fit in with everybody everywhere I went, you guys. And every time I look back over my life, whether it was middle school, high school, even when I was working my retail jobs or working at MPS, everywhere I went, I found myself trying to fit in with different groups of people. And I was that awkward person that people were always looking like, what is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? What is wrong with her? And if you ask anybody, I was always that very awkward person trying to insert herself into a group of people. Maybe I didn't belong there. There were such situations where they were probably unsafe situations. Maybe I didn't belong. Well, not even maybe, I didn't belong there. So I would tell people, be you. You don't have to insert yourself anywhere. Just be you. Find people like you and just vibe. And that's exactly what I do now. I went out by myself a couple weeks ago. I went to Upper East and I found myself something to do by myself. And sometimes I will go to different places and just vibe. I'm a happy person. I meet people everywhere I go, but I don't hide myself anywhere I go. I'm Stephanie. How are you? And so, it's probably not the safest thing to do because you do have to protect yourself, people, but don't hide. Don't hide it. And that's one thing that I don't do on Facebook either. I mean, if I'm feeling an emotion, you guys feel your emotion. That's a part of the emotional dysregulation. Like, it's okay to feel it. Holding it in is going to cost you more later. Let it out, figure out what it is you're feeling, let it go so you can handle it. That's what I would say. Oh, I talk too much too. So also learn to wrap it up. That's also something that I'm working on currently, the wrap it up box.
Okay. All right. All right, cool. Well, I don't have any more questions for
Okay.
you. And I'm glad that you took the time to come out and speak your truth, Miss Stephanie. I really do think that this is a topic that really needs to be pushed harder because a lot of adults, I think we do tend to struggle with, yeah, some of those symptoms, man, and we can't continue to keep these issues under the rug anymore.
Right,
You know,
right. And
not just
the
for
other
ourselves,
thing
but
is,
for our children.
people are starting to call mental illness mental well-being, and I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I don't know, whatever we want to call it, as long as we tend to it, call it whatever you want.
Mhm. Exactly. But just do something about it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Get to work. Get to work. Well, Miss Stephanie, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And tell everybody where they can reach you if they
Well,
need to reach out and say, hey, go ahead.
I am on Facebook. Actually, you can find me on my professional page, Stephanie Jewell, Jewell.
All right. That's it. That's the information you got.
That's
All
it.
right. Well, again, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and
You
thank you for
too.
coming out here and speaking your truth.
Thanks for
And
having me.
oh, no problem, no problem. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you enjoy the rest of your evening.
You
And
too.
everybody, thank you guys for coming in and taking time out to watch the Speak Your Truth with podcast with Mark Ross. And well, I'll be back next week. All right. Take care, Stephanie.
Bye bye, you too.
And take care, everybody.